Hare for coming. So I'll turn it over to
Okay. Alright, so first off, I'd say, I guess we can do a little icebreaker, and then we can give it up to Dayananda Prabhu. Okay, so I'll start, say your name and your major, I guess, or what you're doing here. Okay, so I'm Simran, and I'm a comp sci major. Yeah, and I like being
You're what?
a computer, yeah, comp sci major and sustainability minor. And I'm here to hear you talk.
Hi, my name is Rashmi. I'm a graduate student in computer science. And yeah, I really like this theme of ecology and spirituality and sustainability. And yeah, I look forward to it.
Hi, my name is Tarun, and I'm a graduate student in computer engineering, and I like being here every Tuesday.
So I'm Chaudhary Shah. My major is computer science, and I have great interest in yoga, meditation, and this spiritual things. I really like to be here.
Hi, I'm Induseka. I'm a grad student in robotics, and I come here to serve Krishna.
My name is Diksha. I'm an undergrad undecided major, and I come here because it makes me happy.
I'm Padma Malini, and I come here because I have too many reasons for coming here. I love coming here. I love seeing you all. I love talking about Krishna. I love chanting Hare Krishna. And I'm very much looking forward to your talk tonight.
I'll skip showing myself. My name is Natalia.
Why not?
I'm also here today to hear the beautiful lecture.
I'm Deva, and I come here because it makes me happy. I resonate. I can relate to what Diksha said. And I'm also looking forward to tonight's talk.
Thank you. My name is Dayananda, and I'm living and writing in India, and I come here occasionally because my children live here, and I asked Padma if there was some place that I could speak. But I'm kind of like an older brother. Family member, is that okay?
Yeah.
Member? So that means you'll support me later on. So Padma very kindly said that I could speak here.
You want a chair?
No, thanks. I'm just going to move a little bit. I'll try this out.
You can all scoot into it too.
So Dayananda has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for a long time. He met Srila Prabhupada. You all know, maybe introduced Srila Prabhupada to you. But he brought this chanting of Hare Krishna to the West in the 60s. And shortly after he came, Dayananda met him and took initiation from him. And Dayananda has been very instrumental in building ISKCON, which most of you are familiar with. You actually ran, didn't you, the Gurukula in Texas, in Dallas? That was very, very back in the early days. And also started a temple in Los Angeles. Also went and was doing preaching in Tehran, for a number of years. And then came back to the States. You spent some time in India, you were in New York, very instrumental with 26 2nd Avenue. So he's been a very active advocate and preacher of Krishna consciousness over the years. And we're very indebted to you for your service.
Thank you. I'd like to pass these booklets out. I'm handing a few of these out to get reactions, feedback. Oops. So, if you're interested, please feel free to take one with you. And this is basically what I'll be speaking on tonight.
Does everybody have one?
Has to be there? Okay. I'll give it. No, Simran has. Like, will we be referring to it in the class?
Pardon?
Will we be referring to it in the class, maybe?
Referring, yes, yes.
Okay, great. Then fine.
Well, in general, referring, I guess. This is, this booklet represents my current interest, actually, for a number of years. I've been interested in this idea of the environment and spirituality, or the environment from the perspective of the Bhagavad Gita. So how many people have read the Gita, or you've read, yes? Sorry?
Part.
Part. Excuse me. Well, I want to say, first of all, that let's put aside all of the sort of commonly discussed aspects of environmental issues, like global warming, or fossil fuel depletion, or species extinction, these kinds of things. I want to put these aside just for now and go directly to the concept of greed, or overconsumption of the Earth's resources, and our tendency to kill, to wipe out species and so forth. These things being connected to greed. And in the booklet I mentioned, I quote Stephen Hawking, who says that on a number of occasions he said that he thought that greed would be the downfall of humanity. And there's an interesting quote from Pope Francis, who said that he said, "God always forgives mankind, but the earth does not." Which I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and he said, "The Pope said that?" Because it kind of personifies the earth, which Christians are not so very eager to do. But yes, the Pope expressed his opinion about greed. So we hear a lot about greed, but and religions say that greed is bad. But my presentation is that Krishna gives us the mechanics of greed. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, there's a verse, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsak Sangasteshu Vijayate. You know this? Sangat Samjayate Kama. So Krishna says that the mechanics of greed are that the way the world works is that there are objects here. This is Sankhya philosophy. So the way the world works is that there are objects in the world, and we have senses that correspond to those objects. And there's a natural attraction between the senses and the sense objects. And this is actually the fundamental concept of yoga, as Krishna presents in the Gita. Senses are attracted to the sense objects. The senses carry the mind away toward these sense objects. They carry the mind away from the soul, from the internal direction. The mind should take an internal direction, but it's natural, according to the external world, it's natural for the senses to be sort of magnetically attracted to the sense objects. So how to turn the mind toward the soul? That's the process of yoga. And the key element that Krishna identifies is intelligence. Now this is different from intelligence that we discuss. It's not IQ, intelligence quotient, or or sometimes people say emotional intelligence, or cleverness, or street smarts, or any of these kinds of sort of current understandings of intelligence. The Sankhya concept that Krishna is discussing, in that concept, Krishna is referring to the power to discriminate, or the power to discern, that particular aspect of intelligence. So the power to discern between Maya and Tattva, or Atma, or Krishna. So that power to discern between the external and the internal. This is your first time?
Me?
Yeah. No. So you're an old friend too?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm sort of an old friend, but this is my first time. So senses. So I'm explaining this verse, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa. So what Krishna is saying is that when the mind just contemplates these objects, the objects in the world, everything we see, we feel, we hear, we smell, all of these things, if we just contemplate these things, we become attached to them. Actually, he says sangha. So we become attached, and we also become repulsed. So these are our mental processes: that attachment and repulsion. So one thing I'm attached to, oh, that looks nice. Can I see that? So this is our, no, thank you very much, but I don't, so attachment, rejection. And then sangat, from attachment, sanjayate kama. So kama comes up. Kama is desire. So it's the desire to get these things. And desire leads to all sorts of problems. From desire also, although not exactly in this verse, but desire is just a fundamental aspect of greed. So I've used this word greed. In Sanskrit, lobha. So kama and lobha are very closely related. So Krishna actually explains the mechanics. So I feel this is just a beautiful concept that perhaps there are others that have discussed. I'm sure there must be some philosophers who discuss the mechanics of greed, their concept of the mechanics of greed. But here is just such a beautiful concept, this Sankhya concept of how lust or desire or greed actually works, and how it's broken down. And then, of course, this feeds into the concept of yoga. Chapters 2 and 3 in the Gita, Krishna speaks about karma yoga, buddhi yoga. So these are the fundamental concepts of yoga that deal with this problem of this magnetic attraction, this absorption, with mind and senses carrying away our power of discrimination and absorbing us in this temporary, illusory world which has suffering associated with it. And then quite often there's this dreaded old age and disease. When we were young, we were reciting these things: birth, death, old age, and disease. And so just telling my friend the other day, now here we are, old age and disease. Oh my God, we've arrived finally. Now we know what it is. So the process of yoga, bhakti yoga, karma yoga, buddhi yoga. And naturally, buddhi yoga that concept is meant to strengthen our ability, our discrimination, our discernment it strengthens that discernment so that we can detach this senses from their objects, and we can direct our attention to the soul, and in the process of bhakti yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, we direct our attention to, oh that's right, Bhakti Yoga Club. We direct our attention to Krishna, to the Supreme. And the Gita, much of the Gita discusses how this is done, how does this discrimination take place, how is the intelligence redirected, how is it fixed on the Supreme. This is quite a lot of the discussion of the Gita. So greed, the gods, and the environment. So how does that relate, what I'm saying, how does that relate to greed, the gods, and the environment? Well, greed, we started with greed. These are the mechanics of greed. And how do we, there's a process that Krishna introduces, karma yoga, that controls greed. It's meant to bring us in control of greed. Now we're not presenting a solution that's just, oh, you just adopt this thing and it will work immediately, or this will solve all problems universally. Greed is something that's really a part of human nature. So it's something that has to be applied. And one of the things, of course, that in our group, we ask people to start with vegetarian diet. Now that's certainly an important step in curbing our desire for meat. Prabhupada once, our guru, Prabhupada, once mentioned that meat tastes good. People are attracted to the taste of meat. And many people argue that, well, I eat meat because otherwise I don't want to be weak. So there's a big movement among vegans and vegetarians, and they say, oh no, here are sports people that dispute this concept that meat is necessary for strength. But the fact is that it probably is helpful, meat, and for strength, and it may taste good. But there's no question that it's not our right to kill animals. We have certain rights and responsibilities, and according to the Vaishnava community, not killing is one of our ways of observing our responsibilities in the world, and taking part in the process of karma yoga and bhakti yoga. So just at minimum, we're vegetarians. We're already cutting back on our this desire that we have, or this natural tendency toward greed, to consume more, to embrace the material energy. We like to say energy. To embrace the material concept of life. So the gods. In this booklet, I progress then, but still discussing chapters 3 and 4 of the Gita. At the heart of karma yoga, how long have I gone? I've gone 15 minutes, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we do a little japa and then prasad. Is that how it works?
How long can it go? What time? We serve prasad at 7:30?
Yeah, I mean, we could serve it later.
No, that's all right. So I'm just trying to get a feel. Excuse me. So
you can go till like 7:15 or something,
Mhm.
right?
So the again in the Gita, in the 3rd and 4th chapter, I introduced Karma Yoga as Krishna's solution. It's his process for controlling greed, basically. Now, at the heart of Karma Yoga is this concept of sacrifice, yajna. Yajna, I'm not going to discuss sacrifice as much as I do here in the booklet, but sacrifice is an important component of all cultures. It was explicitly done in ancient cultures, especially we hear about sacrifice to the gods. Maybe there's a horrible aspect to sacrifice that everyone is familiar with say the Incans and the Mayans and the Aztecs. They did human sacrifices and others in the ancient times. But Krishna explains that there are 3 types of sacrifices. Again, sacrifice is really at the heart of Karma Yoga. Now I'm not going to get into this exactly how that is. If you can read the booklet, or you can also read chapters 3 and 4 of Krishna's Gita. But sacrifice is at the heart of Karma Yoga. And in the context of Karma Yoga, it's sacrifice to the Supreme. It works this way. We work. Karma means work. So we work. There are results that come from work. That's called in Sanskrit karma phala. So karma is work. Phal is fruits. So we work, the results come, or the fruits, and those results are offered in sacrifice to the Supreme, somehow used to serve the Supreme, and then that process of using results or sacrificing to the Supreme is the yoga. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. Yajna means to satisfy or please the Supreme. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme. So karma, yajna, yoga. So this is the process that Krishna introduces. And naturally, one could see observably, if we're working and collecting whatever it is that the results of our work, whether it's money or farm produce or whatever, and we're offering it to the Supreme in this yajna, and part of the process is to distribute in charity some of this money or this produce, as we do in all of our programs. We have prasad. So we distribute the prasad that we have afterwards is part of this sacrifice. It was sacrificed to Krishna on an altar, and then part of the process is to distribute it. So this is really a tangible, observable thing that, whereas other people, they work hard, they get money, they buy a television set, and they enjoy it. They sit and enjoy the TV. So the way our process works, theoretically, our meaning Krishna's process, we work hard, we get some money, we buy some prasadam, we offer it to Krishna, and we distribute it. I mean, this is a little, both are simplistic examples, but this is the idea. So it's an observable thing that our greed has automatically reduced. Maybe we're all in different levels of the process. So, I mean, not maybe, but certainly we are. So one person is less greedy than another person. That's fine. But still, the whole process of all of us working together trying to follow karma yoga means that we are all, right now, environmentalists. We are environmentalists working on greed according to this Krishna's solution to the problem of greed. So my presentation is that all of this stuff is window dressing. Bringing back all the things that I said to put aside. Global warming, species annihilation,
Speciesism.
sorry?
Speciesism. Like racism, speciesism.
Yes. And these other issues that are of such great concern, they're important. Recycling, carbon footprint, these things are all important, but they're important on a more superficial level. They will always exist in some form. But greed is the underlying issue that will weaken, at least, the foundation for all of these things. So greed is the thing that's the important item. So sometimes, I know in discussing with other followers of the Gita, they feel like, well, do we really have a solution to the environment? We need to work on developing our self-sufficient farms, or we need to, we need to pay closer attention to how we recycle or how we approach certain uses of products or something like that. But all of these solutions, so-called, so this actually what I'm saying now corresponds roughly with those who are a little familiar with Arne Nass, deep ecology. It roughly corresponds with the concept of shallow ecology and deep ecology. So in deep ecology, there's a philosopher in the 60s, 70s, Arne Nass, European. He's said that he feels that all of these solutions, the sort of the Al Gore type of solution, is superficial. It's shallow ecology. So he describes deep ecology as something that's really a cultural shift. So what we're introducing is a cultural shift, a culture based on karma yoga. So to conclude, at the heart is yajna, or sacrifice, and our sacrifice that we follow specifically, our aspect of karma yoga. Karma yoga is broad. Many followers of the Gita have their idea of how karma yoga should be enacted. And our specific aspect is the way we understand the sacrifice, the yajna. And it's the sankirtan sacrifice, which means, kirtan sacrifice means this chanting and the celebration of. So how many people attended yesterday? There was a festival here, right?
Festival in India? Or in India there?
Yeah, so there was a festival here, and a number of these festivals are going around to different universities. I mean, the same festival, a number of places, different universities, and I think in Potomac over the weekend. So if you didn't come to the festival here, then this weekend, I think in Potomac, that there's at the temple in Potomac, there's going to be the Holy Festival, although it's March 2nd, but we're pretending it's March 2nd, right? Holy, isn't that March 2nd?
Oh, the actual day.
Yeah. Anyway,
Too cold for us here.
So this weekend we're pretending that it's March 2nd, because it's more. So this is also part of our Sankirtan. it's the name of Krishna. Krishna, Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, all these are names, but the names are associated with the Leelas also, with the drama or play or pastime of the Supreme. I'm not going to get into Leela, but this is our Sankirtan aspect, and this is our this name and Leela that's our yajna, that's our process, to have festivals that involve the Leela and to absorb ourselves in the name. That's our yajna. So that's my presentation. Now, what I propose is that if we could have I hope that there could be a little discussion, and I like to divide it into two parts. First part would be more sort of roughly based on the concepts that I presented, and then freeform. So first, if people could either refute what I've said, or affirm, or comment on, or somehow directly relate discussion on what I say, and then we'll spend a few minutes, hopefully, and then afterwards you can say anything. You can say, well, I think we should just all relocate to the moon. Something completely unrelated, but is that all right? Something like that. Something, whatever you like. No rules. You can violate rules if you like. Is that okay? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't mean to say there's no rules.
No, it's all good. Comments, questions, anybody? I'm thinking myself.
Any refutations?